Salut Maya. Hello, hello, hello. Yeah, that's like one of the small toys I brought back from Japan actually. You can see here that it says, hold on. I have to change some settings here. So yes, there you go. Okay. All right. Hello. Hi Maya. Hi Maxim. For those who did not know me, my name is Simon, and I'm basically working in the expedition team for those who buys manga online. I'm the one who packs it and sends it to your home, basically. So I actually know some of your names, but yeah, for those I did not know, welcome to this life. As I was saying, welcome to this life. So today we're going to basically talk about my 10 favorite manga and why they are my favorites. You know, it's because my tastes are most of the time very, very personal, and I can see basically some of the reasons people like some manga, and you know, my tastes are extremely like really personal for anyways, let's begin. Sorry for I hope the quality is all right. I hope that you can see. So number one, oh, we have a lot of people today. Yes, welcome everyone. So number one, yes, you can watch the TV. So number one is GTO, and basically Grand Teacher Onizuka and Great Teacher Onizuka Paradise Lost. Okay, no. So it was made by Toru Fujisawa. Not this Toru, by the way. This one. This handsome guy here. He's actually very quite old and quite a legend of manga making. And I mean, Great Teacher Onizuka, for many people, it's like we kind of grow up with it, right? It's kind of the story where the teacher basically takes care of his student for once, and they live a lot of adventure. Every student has very personal issues, and you know, I think most of us actually knows it. There's a very good anime adaptation. I actually prefer the anime adaptation to a big part of the manga, but the manga goes further. It's like the manga goes like twice as long as the anime. But the anime makes some very good choices of storylines. Welcome, Bora Wat Mong. Sorry if I destroyed that name. So yeah, so you can see that all the I prefer the original Great Teacher Onizuka to the Paradise Lost one. You can see here I have the Paradise Lost collection because it has not been adapted in any animation yet. But the original has more like deeper stories, and I think the original is really great because it makes you feel kind of worried about the students. Everyone has like such tragic life. So when it comes down to that, I think the feeling is really about how you feel in the end when reading it. So yeah, next up is Gun Last Order. I think in English it's called Battle Angel Alita Last Order. So there's an original Gun. Okay, I have no idea how to pronounce that, but there's an original Battle Angel Alita. That's basically a story of kind of futuristic. I will not call it cyberpunk because it has nothing to do with cyberpunkish cities. It's all about futuristic lives like the entire solar system is colonized, and there's a lot of like robot kung fu. Like robot kung fu is really great because their bodies are able to withstand a lot more pressure than human bodies. So when they use some kung fu moves, it's really unique to this anime. There's a lot of other manga with robot kung fu, like Levius or other stuff. But this one really does the action. The action is really great, as you can see here. Alita herself. And my personal reason why I like it is because I feel like the main character, for once, it's a girl that's not being sexualized in any way in the manga. Like, she's a badass, her movements are extremely fluid, and you basically don't see her as a tool for the male gaze, you know. So that's it. Next is so most of you actually know this one, is Demon Slayer. So Demon Slayer is a big boom of last year, right? Mainly because last year we've had like the anime adaptation ending and then the movie releasing in October. When I was in Japan last year, I remember that in almost every konbini I've been to, convenience stores, for those who don't know what are konbinis, the opening of Demon Slayer was always playing. Like, I will enter, and sometimes they are going to just air that song, which is also called Gulenge, for those who wanted to know. This is the latest French chapter released to this day, and I actually brought back from Japan the volume 2021. I don't think it's been translated in English or French yet, but it's definitely coming. But yeah, as a small souvenir here. Why I really love Demon Slayer is because actually, sorry for the fail, the characters, when it comes to power-ups and becoming stronger to defeat their opponents, they actually train, and it makes sense in the end that they don't get like power-ups because of random situations. And we actually see them all the time in pinch situation, which is, you know, very, very difficult usually. But if we compare it to other anime like Fairy Tail, where Elsa, Scarlet, and Natsu Dragneo, basically they, once you're past the first half of the manga, we never see those two characters in an actual pinch situation where they are overwhelmed by their enemy anymore. When you see Demon Slayer, you see Tanjiro basically training really, really hard all the time. You see him like basically struggle, and struggle is what makes a challenge interesting. And Demon Slayer always offers, you know, it always delivers what people want to see. When it comes to you know, feeling like the enemy to defeat is difficult, you know, it's a challenge. So yeah, the training scenes are really interesting. Okay, next up, this one I believe not many people actually know it, so it's going to be my first underground manga in this list. So it's called Machi Shoujo, or in French it's called La Petite Fille aux Allumettes. It's finished in 6 volumes of pure fun. Like, this story is unbelievable. I have discovered it the first time when I bought the volume 1 here from the O-Taku manga launch, and it was like love at first sight. I think it was something so crazy amazing. Like, this story is basically about a little girl who appears in any era and any place to sell a kind of fantasy matchbox for the normal people. And when you light the matches, they actually grant you a wish. But like, it must not be like your deepest wish. It must be a wish on the spot, like a wish that you have like only right now. And because of this, a lot of people are actually living crazy adventures with her, and also getting to see what happens if what they wish for every day becomes true, and they eventually learn the consequences of if they wish for the wrong stuff and they actually felt like they wanted something and they did not. And they can see that there's a lot of very tearful and sad moments when people realize their true feelings toward each other and what's really important. That's a lot of stuff, and it's one of the manga that I can read over and over again because there's so many small stories that are light and easy to understand yet extremely deep. And it's for people who really just wants to discover something new, to not have to feel like engaged in a really long story of like 60 volumes. I would really recommend this one because as you can also see the package, okay, the packaging, it's a really cool yellowish color here. The cover, you can see her like very smug face, kind of here. So and also of course the manga, inside the manga is like really big. It's a bit big if you compare to Demon Slayer. It's a bit bigger, right? You just put one over the other, you can see that it's a bit bigger. So definitely the image you're seeing from reading it is really amazing, and the art style, okay, the art style is just wonderful. All right, next from number 6 onward, because this one was number 7. Next is going to be number 6, and from number 6 onward, I'm gonna spend a bit more time to talk about each of them. So let's get going. So number 6, many of you actually really likes webtoons, I think, like especially Korean webtoons, and this one is actually very similar to a Korean webtoon because it was released, in fact, on the internet rather than actual magazines. It's released in the how is it called? In the web manga app called Magazine Pocket, and it's basically a kind of online application, online website from which you can see various doujinshi authors, but also official manga authors to draw their stuff. Like the author Nanashi is a complete mystery. We have no idea about their age, gender, or who they are. They just published this story and it's been serialized, and it's just all sorts of fun. You can see I also brought back the Japanese volume from Japan. And the story is basically about this girl here, Miss Nagatoro, who basically finds a senpai, a guy who is supposed to be the avatar of the reader, and who basically teases him in a lot of funny situations, but also kind of flirts, but jokingly. Like there's absolutely nothing ecchi or sexual about this one. It's really safe to read for anyone of any age. Yet the situation is extremely tense. It's very entertaining. It's very simple to read. If you want to just, have a good time, I think it's really perfect. It's really similar to this one. Some people may have seen the what's in Japanese? It's like Karakai Jozu no Takagi-san, I think. It's very similar in the fact that the girl is kind of taking the lead, taking the initiative of the story, so it's very comfortable for a male audience. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of guys in Japan whose waifu is basically her for the otakus. I think she's very easy to appreciate, and has it's really about personality here because there's nothing about superpowers. It's like normal day situation in a normal Japanese high school, and you get to see them in a lot of normal situation, you know. Next up. Okay, now this one maybe is the one that probably nobody knows about because it's very underground. So if there are children here, I strongly advise you to not read it, okay? If you're under 16, I don't suggest you to read it. It does not have, it's not like erotic or itchy. It's really like a bit gore, and it's kind of really mentally insane. It's really crazy. To give you an example of how crazy, it's published in the same magazine as Attack on Titan, which is Besatsu Shonen magazine. So the story is okay. This one is called, oh yeah, the name. It's called Jujika no Rokunin. So yeah, Jujika no Rokunin. Maybe some of you wants to get to know it. So here's the title. So the story is about a kid in the Japanese suburbs who gets bullied, like, and because of all those bullying, his childhood was really traumatic. He lost, like, the bullies who are other kids eventually basically did something really, really terrible to him for all those years, and he basically lost everything. And now, like, it's maybe 10 years later, they find each other, they meet each other again in high school, and that's when the story begins. He basically plots revenge against them. You can see this has a lot of Attack on Titan vibes here. Look at this, how his eyes are drawn. It's like pure hatred, and that's why it's a really great story of vengeance. And unlike other stories of vengeance, like, for example, Naruto or Attack on Titan, this one happens in an entirely realistic situation. It's like entirely in the Japanese urban life, basically, because they're like in a small city. And I personally grew up in a suburb area of Asia, so I actually can understand some of the bullying aspect of the manga and some of the relationship between people. But one thing that is really cool about this manga is that this guy's grandfather was a soldier in the Japanese Imperial Army, and because of that, his grandpa is kind of an expert on how to beat people, how to torture people, and how to basically hurt people and kill people eventually. And his grandpa kind of teaches all those techniques, all the knowledge to him, so he can take his kind of revenge. For example, you can see here, it's like a special hand technique, hand move like this, that he uses to kind of like dislocate the bones of someone's muscle, because the opponent is someone really much stronger and much more muscular than he is. So it's all kind of techniques like these that you get to see, and for people who just want to discover some of the darker aspects of humans, I think it's really a great manga. It's like the kind of manga that actually explores the darker sides of human relation, especially in Japan, you know, because in Japan and some Asian countries, we don't have like in Quebec, like, you know, in Quebec we have like DPG for protection for children, but in that case, in Japan, the actual action taken against bullying is very, very small. Usually the adult don't even believe their children or just don't care, and that's a contributing factor. And also because of the fact that in Japan there's a lot of victim shaming that's going on. Like, if you've been bullied and then you report it, and then, you know, instead of actually blaming their kids for bullying you. The parents of these kids are going to like tell you, oh, by your fault now my son is seen as a bad person by society. You know, it's this kind of crazy sometimes, especially around poor families and families who are related to Yakuza or other criminal sectors. It's kind of really twisted, and unlike Attack on Titan, this one is about human versus humans. It's really a whole new level of deep, and I think the author is really, really brave for doing such a story, because usually the Japanese audience don't really appreciate bad guys as main characters. You have to do it really right, like Death Note, for example. But I mean, Death Note at the end offers you, you know, some justice. While this one, I feel like it's going to be all kind of messed up. And another reason why Jujika no Rokunin is so great is because of this character here. So in the bullying gang of the kid gang that bullied the main character, this girl here is the kind of the leader. I forgot her name because she actually don't really appear that often, but she's the one who takes the initiative to do everything to him, and without actually any reason. And that's maybe the craziest stuff. She states at the beginning of the manga that she doesn't have a sad childhood or abusive parents or any reason to be mean, that she wants to be the first one to be perfectly happy and normal, but yet doing extremely cruel stuff to other people. And I feel like there's something, not right going on with this character, and it's probably going to be because the main character wants to kill them one by one, so she's probably going to be the last one. And I expect some very unexpected stuff to happen at the end of the manga between this girl and this character. I don't expect anything to end in a positive light. I think it's going to be all sorts of twisted. So for the people who really loves to explore darker stories, I think it's really awesome. Next, for my number 4, everyone knows it, it's One Piece. Okay, here I even have the volume that I brought back from Japan when I came back in September this year. One Piece. Why do I love One Piece? Why do everyone love One Piece? I think it's such a great story, right? But when it comes to One Piece, there's one aspect I really appreciate, is that, Eiichiro Oda basically gives his own style of pirate story, and it makes all the other pirate stories feels superficial. I mean, if you look back at the stories of, for example, Assassin's Creed Black Flag or other pirate stories now, compared to the entirety of One Piece, it does not compare, right? It's a whole new level of deep. And it feels like after reading One Piece, I don't need other pirate stories. I just got these pirate stories, it's done well, and it makes the complete tour. On the same level as Full Metal Alchemist does the tour of everything that you want to see of a story about alchemy. So I think there's really nothing you want to really see more than One Piece once you read it. And coming from a Japanese author, it's really amazing how much he understands pirate stories, despite, piracy was a thing in Japan, but definitely not as often told as, like, the stories were not as commonly passed down than in the West, right? In the West, we have so many stories about pirates, which in the end all looks alike, and then here comes Oda with an entirely different way of looking at pirate adventures and at what it means to be pirate. And it's just so refreshing, because I've been a fan of pirate stories for years, and One Piece is the one that impressed me the most. So yeah, nothing much to say. Talk about. Oh, by the way, if you guys have anything you want to share, and if you know any of these manga, you can actually comment and tell me what you think about those manga so far. So yeah, next stop, Tokyo Revengers. Okay, so I think a lot of people actually knows Tokyo Revengers by now. I actually discovered it at the end of its hype. Like, I mean, everyone already kind of shared it and made the advertisement for it. I began reading it when there's already maybe like 7 volumes edited by Glenna. I also brought back the Japanese volume of Tokyo Ghoul, but this is my favorite character, Miki, and this is the French edition of it. You can see that the colors are a bit different, but this one is, I mean, it's kind of the kind of story that you want to read when you feel like you're bored of the epic action isekai genre. When you feel like you're bored of the traditional shonen manga, you want something new, something focused on plot. Tokyo Revengers, the plot is incredible. Like the cliffhangers, the plot twists, name it. It's like such a story that you never really expect the outcome, and it's a story that gives attention to all of its characters. Like, at the end of the day, you sometimes feel bad for the bad guy, I mean the opponent of the good guy, because there's not many actual bad guys, and you feel actually just like Nagatoro before. Tokyo Revengers happens in a very suburb area of Tokyo where people actually live there every day, and so it's very different from the Tokyo that you as a tourist will see when you go to visit Tokyo. It's like a part of Tokyo where people just live there, grow up in there, and forms sometimes gangs. And I mean, there's been a lot of stories about Yankees, and in Japan they call them Yankees, about basically bad boys and motor gangs and other stuff like that. And this is one that's very different from most of them, because most of the characters are morally fine, actually, because there's some assholes, of course, who abuse their family in the manga, but most of the characters are good people, and you actually feel like you can be attached to them a lot. So the main story is basically the main character used to be part of a gang called Tokyo Manji Gang, and one day, well, he grew up and became a total loser, and one day he is killed, and he learns that his girlfriend, well, the girl he loves, is also being killed by that same Tokyo Manji Gang. Now from there on, instead of dying, he actually returns back in time of about, I think, 10 years or something like that, to the era when he was in high school, and in high school he was actually part of this gang but was nothing. But now he's decided to investigate what happened to this gang. Why did this gang kill the girl I like and kill me? And basically he wants to kind of change the outcome of history by changing the past. And while doing so, he actually meets the main characters of the gang, the main leaders, gets close to them, and discovers the rise of this gang. How did this gang eventually, 10 years later, becomes the criminal organization that it became from, the foundation that were like a gang of teenagers in the end. And it's all sorts of crazy. and then he discovered that there are people plotting in the shadows against that gang and manipulate everyone. And it's, you know, this guy, it's himself, he's not very strong, and yet he's making all sorts of decisions to get through and try to change history. You can really see the design. This is the poster. I think it's the announcement for the anime release, because it's going to have an anime release, I think sometimes this year, maybe in April. Just like, hold on. Just like Miss Nagatoro is also going to have an anime in this April, actually. So yeah, let's go back to, yeah. So Tokyo Revengers is a lot of fun. The action is short. The story is really, really deep. Really simple yet deep. You know, that's kind of my style of manga, where you start with a simple concept and you can bring to it all sorts of depth of story. And you can see that it's really incredible, some of the illustration that the author is able to bring. So yeah, I'll let you discover the story, and if you want, you can comment here and tell me what you think about it once you read it. And of course, you can buy all the volumes at O-Taku Manga Launch. So yeah, next stop, Berserk. So Berserk is my number 2 here. So I think most people know Berserk, but I'm going to keep it simple. It's basically dark fantasy about some characters with very, very bad lucks and who fights their way out. The main character, Guts, is like not a hero type. He doesn't care about the world. He just wants to like do his own stuff, but yet the situation is so messed up, so dark, that he needs to keep fighting for people who cross his path, you know. And what I really love about Berserk is the art style. Oh my gosh, this, okay, so the art style, you can see here the ink that the author spends in all of those plants, you know, here, to create this effect of color that is just so beautiful, you know. It's so beautiful. I think even the anime adaptation struggles to actually show the beauty of his art, because the color, the use of black color here to actually make everything seem so dark, so grotesque, and yet the light effects with the white, the contrast, I think it's really, like, you know, many of the other manga that you can read on the market, like One Piece, etc., they will always look better in color. But Berserk, I think it was made to be on manga format, on black and white format, so that this color, the lack of color, is not a challenge to the author when it comes to what is great or what is not. And Berserk is actually like the deepest dark fantasy story of our modern times, considered by many critics. I actually have this thing that you can also buy from Otaku Manga Launch. So it's basically a thesis, a book of analysis of all the thematics in Berserk, because it's just so deep. And it's in French though, but yeah, if you like to learn more about how to create a great story, this book really details how the author creates them. And also what is really fun about Berserk is also the author's humor. The humor for a dark fantasy story, okay, the humor is unbelievably well mastered. Like there are some, for example, Marvel movies where you feel like, or Disney movies, where you feel like the humor is out of place, you know, it's extremely misplaced. It was a serious scene, a serious moment, why do you put humor in it? But in Berserk, all the humor really catches you by surprise, and it's really funny. I mean, I've laughed many times. I don't laugh very often when reading manga, but there's a lot of very funny stuff going on in Berserk, very unexpected. And the author himself, Kentaro Miura, was kind of a disciple or a student of the author of Hokuto no Ken, Fist of the North Star in English, which is why Ken and Guts looks a bit alike. And actually, when he began Berserk, he was wondering if it could ever like become as great as Fist of the North Star, but in the end, it completely surpassed it. I mean, there's so many. The fandom of Berserk is so great that some of the fans even made a list of all the people that got killed during the story, and there, I think, the number of people so far that you see, it's at, I think, something like 1,000 over 40 volumes. So that's really, blood is so well mastered. The use of blood it's so great. I mean, it basically makes you shiver a bit from thinking that, human body, we're so fragile in the end, because it just needs one swing of a sword and our body becomes a corpse, basically. And so when you think about it, it's really it's really challenging. It's like Jujika no Rokunin is also very challenging to the people. So next up is my number one. Dr. Stone. Okay, so I was raised in a family full of scientific people. So of course a manga about science and about how great science is. It's really personal to me. Dr. Stone is a manga that last year in the Jump has consistently stayed in the top 3 of the most popular manga of the Weekly Shonen Jump magazine in Japan, which is basically the magazine in which the most popular manga are serialized. And it's made by Lichiro Inagaki and drawn by Boichi. So, Dr. Stone here, why is it great? I expect many of you to already know it, but I think what's great is the post-apocalyptic situation. Basically, something happens and every human on the earth becomes stone, and one day Senku, the main character, wakes up and basically has to build civilization back from scratch using all the knowledge of science that he knows. And in that regard, he's like a kind of god of science, just like in many stories, gods were those who gave human fire, for example, the knowledge of fire in Greek mythology. Here he gives us the new knowledge of science and makes human civilization challenge. Like, you really go back to an era where everything is desolated. It's been like 3,000 years since what happened, and they all wake up as if it was yesterday. They don't age while they are stoned. So Senku's quest is basically to make science progress back to the state where it was, while starting in a Stone Age. That's why he's Dr. Stone, because we're at the Stone Age where everything seems impossible. Every modern standard of life seems impossible, and he gives us, like the other characters, the knowledge and helps them to build science from square zero, to see how science throughout history has helped mankind, but in a really fast forward situation where they need science to be really quick. And he mentions it many times, like when he does something like, I'm not going to spoil anyone here, but when he creates something modern and he was able to build it with the material that he has access to, well, he just says that, you see, now we've jumped 2 million years forward in terms of science, because at the beginning they don't have anything. They don't have, all the cities are destroyed, no home is inhabitable, and there's a lot of twists. But ultimately, the question of this show is really to know what made humans become stone. What's the origin? There's many theories, but so far in the manga we actually don't know. It's the complete mystery. What made the world end like this? And the other aspect is that there are many groups of human survivors who became humans again after 3,000 years, and those people are actually disagreeing with Senku's way of doing things. They want their own kind of mankind to rise from this apocalyptic situation, so they have their own vision of what the world should be, and so there's a lot of plot twists and disputes between them. So yeah, you can see that Senku is really doing everything from square zero. It's like, I always loved post-apocalyptic situation because they set everything to an extremely simple situation. You know, the world is ending, there's nothing, and you can start exploring a new way of life, a new universe, or a new world from Dr. Stone. And you know, it makes science feel cool. And I think it's one of the, because you could say that Full Metal Alchemist also makes science look cool, but let's be honest, between us, alchemy is not exactly scientifically accurate. It's not real science. While in Dr. Stone, there's not much. I mean, I don't think you can say that in Dr. Stone they have superpowers. Okay, they just struggle and deal with the material. They go to look for the iron, the diamonds, the wood, or the research they need, and they create all sorts of modern stuff like this ramen stand here, which is very Japanese. The story, of course, happens in Japan, but they are survivors, like in many places around the world. And the plot is really simple to watch because it's like one plot at a time. There's usually not many like plot who shadows over each other, and yeah, that's basically it. I think I really like the manga who are really simple and yet deep in their own way, explores their own universe very deeply. So that's about it for today's live. I'm sorry you have not seen my face that often because I actually think the TV behind me is more interesting. Yeah. So now it's time to end this live. Thank you for joining us, Jad Roy. The live is actually over right now, but if you guys want to share some comments, and if some of those manga you also like or love, please you can actually comment it, and I think I can stay an extra 5 minutes for discussion if anyone wants to discuss something. Welcome Genevieve and Carboni. So yeah, oh Samuel, yeah, I think Tokyo Revengers is really a great run. Maybe it's going to finish with about 20 volumes in total. I don't feel like it's a story that's going to last forever, but Tokyo Revengers is amazingly fun. I think everyone can appreciate Tokyo Revengers. You know. Welcome, Lian Hernandez. So yeah, for those who join later, you can always rewatch the live later once it's been recorded. On those words, I'm gonna wish you guys a good evening and see you next Friday. Next Friday, we're going to talk about big stuff. I'm going to be basically giving a class, a course on Neon Genesis Evangelion. It's going to be part 1 because there's too many stuff to discuss about, but I'm going to explain the subcontext of otaku life in Neon Genesis Evangelion and how Hideaki Anno saw the otaku lifestyle and what he sees in otaku and why he made Neon Genesis Evangelion. And also we're going to talk about some of the animation techniques that Hideaki Anno puts in his anime and many. So I'm going to be basically talking about some scenes specifically and giving you guys a small kind of class on how to watch Evangelion and how to see the subcontext of it, how to see what you mainstream audience does not see in Evangelion and how great it is. So yeah, see you next week at the same time.